It's 3:17 in the morning, you're fast asleep. Your phone is face down on the nightstand. You haven't done a single thing productive in the last 6 hours. And somewhere, without your permission, without your effort, without you even being conscious, money just moved into your account, not because of something you did tonight. Because of a decision you made weeks ago, or months ago, or maybe years ago. That is what an asset does. And in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly 7 of them, ranked by what they actually return in 2026. Because the gap between the people who understand this and the people who don't is growing wider every single year. Stay with me because asset number 4 on this list is the one most people completely ignore. And it's quietly one of the most powerful income engines available to someone starting with almost nothing. You're not going to want to miss that one. Here's the uncomfortable reality. Most people go to work every single day, trade 8 or 10 hours of their life for money, come home exhausted, and do it all again tomorrow. And there's nothing wrong with working. Work is how you build capital. But working is not how you build wealth. Wealth is built by deploying what you earn into things that generate returns, without requiring your presence. Things that make money whether you're at your desk at the beach or asleep at 3 in the morning. We call these assets. And the remarkable thing, the thing that will frustrate you slightly when you hear it, is that these assets are not hidden. They're not secret. They're not reserved for the wealthy. They're sitting in plain sight, available to virtually anyone with a phone and a brokerage account. The only reason most people don't use them is that nobody ever sat them down and explained how they actually work. That ends today. Let's go through all 7, worst to best, ranked by what the real data says about their actual returns in 2026. Asset 7. High-yield savings accounts, 4 to 5% APY. We start here because this is where everybody should begin, and almost nobody does it correctly. If your money is sitting in a regular savings account at one of the big banks right now, you are earning 0.01% interest. I want you to let that sink in for a second. On $10,000, that earns you $1 a year. $1. Your money is doing essentially nothing. But here's what the banks don't advertise. High-yield savings accounts at online banks are currently paying up to 5% APY as of March 2026. That's more than 10 times the national average. On that same $10,000, that's $500 a year in interest. Deposited automatically, just for keeping your money somewhere smarter. Now, is 5% going to make you rich? No. This is not the destination. This is the foundation. Every single dollar you deploy into the other assets should sit here first. Think of this as your money's waiting room, except the waiting room pays you to wait. Asset 6. Bond ETFs 3 to 5% annually. Now I know what you're thinking. Bonds? Really? Bonds sound like something your grandfather put his retirement savings into while wearing a cardigan. And you're not completely wrong, traditional bonds are not exciting. But stick with me because there's something specific happening in the bond market right now. A bond ETF is essentially you lending money to governments or large corporations. In return, they pay you regular interest. The US government bond ETFs are currently paying 3 to 4% annually. Corporate bond ETFs are paying 4 to 5%. And here's the key thing. These payments come like clockwork, regardless of what the stock market is doing. Bonds sit at number 6 because their growth ceiling is capped compared to what's coming on this list. But they play a crucial role because they're the ballast, the steady, reliable income that keeps you grounded when the higher return assets get choppy. You don't build a wealth engine out of only high-performance parts. You need stability too. Asset 5. Index funds, S&P 500, 10.4% AVG. Annually, approximately 12%, projected 2026. Alright, now we're getting into serious territory. The S&P 500 is a basket of the 500 largest companies in America. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia, Google. When you buy an S&P 500 index fund, you don't pick individual winners. You own a tiny slice of all 500 of them. And collectively, over the last 100 years, that basket has returned an average of 10.4% per year. Let's make that real. If you invested $10,000 into an S&P 500 index fund in 2016 and never touched it, you'd have roughly $27,000 today. You didn't manage it. You didn't watch it. You didn't stress about it. You just owned it, and it compounded. And here's the thing that genuinely gets me every time I look at this data. Wall Street strategists are currently forecasting 12% returns from the S&P 500 in 2026 alone. 12%. On money you don't have to actively manage. Compare that to the 0.01% at your high street bank. And ask yourself honestly, why is anyone still leaving money there? The answer, of course, is that index funds feel abstract. They feel like something sophisticated investors do. But buying one costs a single brokerage account and literally 4 minutes of your time. That's it. The democratization of wealth building has never been more real than it is right now. Asset 4, dividend stocks, 3 to 7% yield plus capital appreciation. Here it is, the one I told you not to skip. And I want you to pay close attention, because this is the asset class that most beginners either overlook entirely or massively underestimate. A dividend stock is a share in a company that pays you a regular cut of its profits just for holding it. You don't need to sell anything. You don't need to do anything. They deposit money into your account quarterly, sometimes monthly, as a direct share of the company's earnings. Let me give you a concrete example from right now. Realty Income, ticker symbol O, has paid a dividend for 667 consecutive months without missing a single payment. It currently yields 5.72% annually. That means if you own $10,000 worth of Realty Income, you are receiving roughly $47 every single month, automatically, while you sleep. But here's where it gets genuinely powerful, and this is the part most people miss. The best dividend stocks don't just pay you. They grow their payout every year. Realty Income has grown its dividend at a 4.2% annual rate every year since it went public in 1994. So not only is your income stream growing, the share price is appreciating too. You're getting paid twice on the same investment. And this isn't just one company. Enterprise Products Partners yields 6.8% and has raised its distribution for 27 consecutive years. There are entire portfolios built around nothing but dividend-growing companies, sometimes called dividend aristocrats, that have done this for decades. This is what patient wealth looks like. You plant the tree, and every month for the rest of your life, the tree drops fruit. Asset 3, REITs 4% plus dividend yield plus 9% AVG. Annual total return. Now I want to talk about real estate, because everybody knows property builds wealth. The problem is most people assume you need a massive deposit, a mortgage, a maintenance budget, and the willingness to get a call at midnight because a pipe burst. What if I told you there was a way to own real estate without any of that? A REIT, a real estate investment trust, is a company that owns income-producing properties, shopping centers, data centers, hospitals, industrial warehouses, apartment complexes. And by law, they are required to distribute at least 90% of their taxable income to shareholders every single year. That 90% rule is the magic. The average REIT dividend yield right now is over 4%, triple the S&P 500's yield. But the real story is total return. Over the last 20 years, equity REITs have delivered an average annualized return of around 9%. That's real estate returns without the landlord headaches. You can buy into Vanguard's VNQA REIT ETF covering the entire US real estate market. For the price of a single share? Think about what that means. You can be a partial owner of hundreds of income-generating properties across America, collecting a share of the rent, starting today, for less than $100. That is a genuinely extraordinary thing that simply did not exist 30 years ago. Asset 2, digital products, unlimited upside, zero marginal cost. This is where things get interesting, because this is the only one on this list that has no ceiling. No cap, no physical constraint on how much it can generate. A digital product is anything you create once and sell repeatedly. An ebook, an online course, a template pack, a piece of software, a digital download. You make it once, and then it sells at 3 in the morning on a Tuesday while you're on holiday forever, without you needing to do anything beyond the initial creation. Here's the economics that make this so powerful. A physical product costs money to make every time you sell it. Raw materials, manufacturing, shipping, but a digital product costs nothing to duplicate. Once the file exists, the 1,000th sale costs you exactly what the first sale did. Nothing. Your margin on every sale after the initial creation cost is essentially 100%. Now I won't pretend this is as simple as putting money into an index fund. Creating a digital product that people actually want to buy requires effort upfront. You need to understand what your audience needs. You need to deliver genuine value. But once that work is done, once you have something that genuinely solves a problem for people, it becomes an engine that runs for years. Some creators in the finance and education space make anywhere from a few hundred to tens of thousands of dollars per month from a course or ebook they finished writing years ago. The initial work is finite. The returns are not. Asset 1. Business equity potentially unlimited, the ultimate compounding machine. And here we are. The asset that sits at the top of every serious wealth builder's list. The one that made every billionaire a billionaire. Business equity. When you own equity in a business, whether that's your own business, shares in a private company, or simply the stock portfolio we talked about earlier, you own something that compounds on itself. The business makes money. It reinvests that money. It makes more money. It reinvests that. And the value of your ownership stake grows, often faster than any other asset class on Earth. Warren Buffett doesn't earn a salary. Elon Musk doesn't earn a salary in the traditional sense. Jeff Bezos didn't build Amazon's wealth by being paid an hourly rate. They built it by owning equity in things that compounded relentlessly over decades. Now, you don't need to be a billionaire to apply this principle. Starting a small online business, owning a fraction of a growing company through stock investing, building a side project that generates revenue, these are all forms of equity building. And the compounding effect works at every scale. The reason this sits at number 1 is simple. Every other asset on this list has a known return range. High-yield savings, 4 to 5%. Index funds, 10% historically. Dividend stocks, 4 to 7% yield. Business equity has no upper bound. Done well, it is the engine underneath all other wealth. So let's bring it all together. 7 assets ranked by real returns in 2026. Number 7, high-yield savings accounts, 4 to 5%. Your foundation, where every dollar lives before it gets deployed. Number 6, bond ETFs, 3 to 5%. Stable, reliable, and the ballast that keeps your portfolio steady. Number 5, index funds, 10% historically, 12% projected this year. Set it, forget it, let it compound. Number 4, dividend stocks, 3 to 7% yield, plus price appreciation. The tree that drops fruit every single month. Number 3, REITs, 4% plus yield, 9% average total return. Real estate ownership without the landlord nightmare. Number 2, digital products, no ceiling, no marginal cost. Create once, earn indefinitely. And number 1, business equity, unlimited compounding potential. The engine underneath everything else. Now here's the most important thing I can tell you after all of that. The goal is not to pick one and ignore the rest. The goal, and this is what the genuinely wealthy actually do, is to build all of them over time, layer by layer. You start with the foundation, you add the index funds. You introduce dividends, you explore REITs. Eventually you build or buy equity. Each layer you add makes every other layer more powerful. Because once your assets start generating income, you can deploy that income into more assets. And then those assets generate income too. And suddenly, you are no longer in the system that was built to keep you running on a treadmill. You are in a completely different system. One that works for you at 3 in the morning. In one of our previous videos, we talked about what happened on that night in August 1971. The moment the deal between ordinary people and their money was quietly canceled. The whole point of everything we do on this channel is to show you how to get back on the right side of that deal. These 7 assets are the tools. They're not theoretical. The data I've shared with you today is live. If this gave you even one new thing to look up, one account to open, one concept to take seriously, subscribe. Share this video with someone who deserves to hear it. And I'll see you in the next one.